Joining us right now is former White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney. He is now co-chair at Actium Strategic Advisors, and former Democratic U.S. Senator Heidi Heitkamp, who is now director of the University of Chicago's Institute of Politics and a CNBC contributor. And let me just throw this out here. The idea of tariffs is one that has been used by both men who are running for president this time around, both President Biden and President Trump. So maybe we should just talk about whether tariffs are here to stay. Mick, let me start with you. President Trump already had put tariffs in place. Biden is raising tariffs that are targeted in some areas. What are your thoughts on the matter?
If the question is, are tariffs here to stay, I think certainly more so than they were, say, a generation ago. I think the philosophy in Washington, D.C. towards trade has changed. It's one of the ways that Donald Trump has changed the Republican Party, and especially as vis-a-vis China. So now what you're going to see during this campaign is both of the major candidates trying to get harder and harder on China than the other. So now that Biden has sort of raised the specter of tariffs on China, you expect and have seen Trump raise them, his expectations even higher. They're going to be falling over each other to be who's toughest on China. I don't see that going away. There's very few things right now, Becky, that are bipartisan in Washington, and antipathy towards China is one of the rare things.
Hey, Heidi, do you think tariffs work?
Well, I mean, obviously, when you look at the Chinese economy and our trade deficit, you're seeing less importation from China. So is that the goal? But if the goal is to keep prices low and curtail inflation, you know, tariffs are inflationary, regardless of what the senator from Ohio believes over the weekend. And so, you know, it used to be the Republicans rightfully said tariffs are a tax. That has gone away with the advent of the Trump administration. I think that it gives the administration and the president a lot of power, and we need to rethink whether we should give them unilateral power to tax the American people.
Mick, I mean, that's a fair point, just the idea that tariffs are a tax. It's long been a conservative talking point and construction around this idea. I can understand some situations where we think it's an issue of national security and we want to make sure that it's not so easy to dump products here. But a lot of these things really just wind up making more inflationary pressures, and meaning consumers are going to pay a lot more when they go to the stores.
Yeah, they do. And there's a different cost-benefit analysis, right, for both policymakers and for voters. There might be one attitude towards a tariff on Chinese rare earth minerals or Chinese green energy. That's one thing. Putting a tariff on Australian steel could be something entirely different. So I think the cost-benefit analysis is going to vary from country to country and product to product. The real question is, are the voters willing to pay the price? And right now, they seem to be. There's a lot more voters out there saying, yes, please put tariffs at least on China. I don't think the voters are out there saying put tariffs on European automobiles or Japanese cars or anything like that. But certainly when it comes to China, there's an appetite for that amongst voters. And keep in mind, the politicians are going to do what the voters want if they get the chance.
Let me ask both of you. I want to turn this conversation a little bit just to try and get your sense of what you think about the polls right now, because the polls show President Biden behind, especially in some of those swing states, which don't even look like swing states at this point. Democrats will say at this point they don't believe the polls. Republicans said last time around that they should have won the election based on what the polls were saying. So I'll ask each of you, and Heidi, we'll start with you. What do you think about the polls? Are they right? Are they predictive?
I think the polls are early, and I think that they are definitely a warning sign for the administration. They're going to have to get their voice out there. They're going to have to get their message out there. But, when polls say what people want them to say, they're dead on. When polls say what people don't want them to say, then they're skewed or distorted.